Hello, greetings, welcome everyone to the conference and my presentation. So my name is Baris and I work in cybersecurity in HSBC. So just to talk a little bit about myself, I've been in the industry for almost 20 years as time passes by so quickly. And I've had chance to experience IT from multiple sides of the table, ranging from project delivery, system administration, system architecture, recruitment, hiring and leading performing teams in multinational, multicultural environment. And it's also been fascinating for me to witness the evolution of IT over the past years. It's still progressing with no end. So apart from technical stuff, I play Diablo as much as I find time with my humble sorcerer. But I must say that I really miss old days. I hope Paladins would come back in the coming expansions. So we can circle back to today's topic, which is going to be technology risks, reducing them, being compliant, and being resilient. So it's not just about technology, as we all know, right? So it's more of survivability. So how we engineer our environment to resist, to detect, and to recover from threats, of course, without business interruptions, without business impact, right? So today, or for the last maybe 5-10 years, we live in an era where the attack surface is constantly shifting, for sure. So as we know, AI is everywhere, and applications, our infrastructure, span the clouds. Like most of the companies today are leveraging multi-cloud environments. And data is decentralized. So although the companies are calling us back to office, still people are working from everywhere. But although these changes, many changes, one thing I think remain constant, which is risk itself. And as I believe everybody would agree with me in this, that our job is to make sure that the risk does not become an impact in our environment. So here, technology risks, managing them, being compliant, being resilient, come into picture for sure. So we can think of this concept as a safety net, not just protect our technical infrastructure, but our ability to deliver to our customers under any circumstances, right? So to elaborate a little bit more about the context, so it's about ensuring our technical layers operates within the internal policies and external regulations. So when it comes to our technical layers, as you may guess, they are ranging from cloud workloads, security devices, network devices, databases, and etc. So technology risks, managing them, being compliant, being resilient, shortly, secure our business environment by protecting our technical layer that the business runs on top of. Because, as we know, business is only as strong as its most vulnerable system, vulnerable component. So today, among many aspects of technology risks and compliance, I would like to focus on 3 foundational elements, which is going to be login and monitoring, security vulnerability remediation and patching, and configuration management. So in the second half of my conversation, just after talk about these contexts, I will move to my demo environment, and I would like to present you the exploitation of an infamous security vulnerability, probably in the last decade, which is going to be an infamous Log4j. log4shell. And we will analyze how these three elements are tied into being more resilient and compliant. So login and monitoring. In fact, it's a little bit self-explanatory when compared with other two elements. So without logging and without proper monitoring in place, we can never know what's happening in our network, what happened, and likely, if we are lucky, what would happen in the next half an hour to 1 hour time, even maybe in 2 hours time, if we have proper predictive analytic approaches and capabilities in place. As today, there are various products in terms of logging and analytic. They offer predictive analytic capabilities. But it depends how we configure, how we leverage, and how we adapt these solutions into our environment. And logging and monitoring is crucial and significant to reduce our technology risks, hence positively contributing to being compliant and resilient for sure. So configuration management, I think this is a little bit tricky one when compared with the other elements. Because today, we are introducing change to our infrastructure every now and then, to our technical layer and to our business layer. So with configuration management, it makes sure that our changes are put into production in a repeatable way, at scale, auditable, and compliant. So there are various tools that we probably leverage in our companies, like Terraform, Ansible, Jenkins, and so on and so forth. But one thing we should highlight in here is secure coding best practices has to be aligned. Otherwise, while we are deploying our infrastructure at scale with traceability and auditability, we might create unwanted configurations if we are not aligning with the secure coding best practices. So the last one before I'm going to move to my demo is security patching and vulnerability remediation. So I would say this is our speed factor in between containment and catastrophe when vulnerabilities emerge, right? So it's about how quickly would we be able to respond and reduce the window of exposure when a vulnerability or vulnerabilities emerge. Like even some of them can be 0 days and cannot be foreseen, like the one that I'm going to present in the next couple minutes, which is going to be log4shell. So moving to my demo environment, I'd like to talk about the environment a little bit, just to make sure that it would be easier to understand how this is tied into what I've mentioned. So I've provisioned this lab environment, this demo environment, completely isolated and disconnected from any production networks by leveraging Terraform, which is probably one of the most used infrastructure as a code tool. So there was no reason for me to choose specific tools. It's just because of I feel myself comfortable with this. So, but I purposefully left some misconfigurations in my Terraform code, which we will talk about in the next couple of minutes. And in this demo environment, I have one Calibox, which is going to be our attacker, which I will use to craft a JNDI payload, a kind of HTTP string, and then I will send this payload to my victim, which is a vulnerable Java application. And then, once the Java application has processed the JNDI string, it is going to attempt to connect back to my Calibox, which I will capture the connection by leveraging a simple netcat listener. So my vulnerable Java application is behind a web application firewall. So it's just to make it more realistic, because as we know, none of our applications and infrastructures are directly open to internet, right? And to tie this connection, to tie this configuration to what I've mentioned, the three elements, I've configured my web application firewall to send the firewall logs to my login analytics solution. So once we crafted and sent the payload, once we captured the connection, we will see what are there in the logs, and then we will be talking about what we could have done a little bit better to mitigate such things as much as possible. So I hope you would be able to see my screen. Just before I start, let me switch to my demo environment and let me show you how it looks like. So in here, we see several resources on this cloud service provider. Again, this is just to, I just selected this provider, just I feel comfortable with this environment, so there is no need. So you can leverage any cloud service provider or your on-prem infrastructure to build such kind of demos. So here I have one virtual machine, which is my victim application. And also I have application gateway, as you see here under the type section. And I have one log analytics solution, which we will check the logs once we have sent the payload. And on login and analytics solution, the logs would look like this one, but it will be new logs based on the timestamp. And my Kali machine is completely in a different account, in different region. I just chose this to make it more realistic, because today, if we look at our security operations center and dashboard and their dashboards, we can see that the attacks and attempts are coming from everywhere in the world, right? So here, I will start listening by running a simple netget listener, and then let me move to my Kali. So this is a simple trivial HTTP header, a JNDI string, which is exploiting the vulnerability in log4j libraries, which was there in the older version of Java. And if you look at the string, once the victim machine has processed this JNDI string, it would try to connect back to the IP, as you can see on the right-hand side of LDAP field, which is my Kali box. And that Kali box is listening on 9001 port. And on the right-hand side, this is the public external IP address of my web application firewall. Like I mentioned earlier, my vulnerable Java application is exposed to internet through web application firewall. Let me reiterate. Yes. So here, I had started the connection listening like moments back, and we see a connection has received from an IP address. So we can check what is this IP address on my demo environment. So if I go to my virtual machine in here, in the East US region, then we can see this is the victim machine's IP address. So the vulnerable Java application is running on top of this virtual machine. So then we should be able to see what's happening in this network on log analytic solution. So I purposefully configured web application firewall to send the firewall events to log analytics solution, because if we consider in an enterprise network, we cannot have only one device that is protecting our network, right? So we have number of devices in different data centers which are spread among the data centers. So no need to mention that each and every enterprise, either mid-size or small-size companies, log analytics solutions are crucial and must to reduce our technology risks and remain compliant. So I have some events in here, but let's check what they are. Yes. So probably you are able to see from that screen, and that screen is more comfortable for me. So here, we could see a remote code execution has happened in this line. So it's really scary, right? Because if you remember from the late 2021, Log4j was detected November, December something, and it was one of the scariest because you can have a remote code execution with a simple HTTP header, with a trivial HTTP header like JNDI. But let's dig deeper and analyze a little bit further. So these connections are evaluated by OWASP rules. However, on the action section, we didn't see any prevent. We didn't see any block. It just detected. So this was the mistake I made within my Terraform configuration. While I was provisioning the environment, of course, I purposefully left it, but this could have been done easily. This could have been missed easily. While I appreciate we need to make sure that our detection and response mechanisms are evaluated by us properly, that are aligning with our needs, once we have agreed, we should be able to develop the configuration properly to our production environment, which it should have been a prevent, a detect, rather than just detect, right? So we could change this configuration easily and then see. So if I go back to my demo environment, and if I switch to the context of application firewall, and here I can switch it to prevention, and I can save it. So once the configuration has saved, configured, I will go back to my Kali box, Kali environment, and then I'll try to send the payload once again, and we'll see what would be the response of the web application firewall. Okay, so now we could see that our connection attempt was blocked, dropped by web application firewall, which is supposed to be, right? So again, we tried to send a JNDI header to my vulnerable Java application through web application proxy, and it prevented and blocked the connection attempt. So if I go back to logs, I think in 1 or 2 minutes, we would be able to see this attempt as a block. So here it still shows the previous logs. So while we are waiting to see the up-to-date logs, maybe I can continue and explain how this ties with what I've explained. So this is a kind of real-world scenario where we are leveraging the power of logging and monitoring, security vulnerability remediation and patching, and configuration management to reduce our risk exposure, our risk surface. So what we could have done better in this scenario? We can say multiple things, right? One is the configuration of web application firewall. The other one is I purposefully used a vulnerable Java version. So constantly and continuously patching our environment is critical in order to mitigate such kind of scenarios. So most of the time, we might first scan, detect, and classify, and then we remediate. But while the remediation effort is progressing, continuously patching the environment, the applications, servers, databases, or network devices, or whatever we have in our network, would definitely reduce our attack surface and risk lens, and significantly contribute to being resilient and compliant. Let me check the logs one more time. So again, on the left-hand side, if we focus on the top 3 events, top 3 logs, we can see the remote code execution attempt. But now, let me slide to here. Now we can see it's blocked by web application firewall, which was the third thing, configuration management. Why it is such important? To make sure that we are deploying our infrastructure at scale, repeatable, consistent, clean, by properly having a configuration management approach. So, although technology risks, compliance, and/or resilience look like theoretical or look like they are in the best practices, I think it's not, right? So, risk is there, measurable, exploitable, and how we engineer our environment, how we make our environment resilient, keeps us strong and helps us to mitigate such kind of attacks, such kind of scenarios. So this doesn't have to be a 0 day or a 0 day, but if we consistently follow the risk reduction best practices, if we build our environment, our business, our technical layer on top of proper risk management, compliance management, hence the resilience, then we would be able to survive in such scenarios. So I can say resilience is engineered through visibility and consistency and speed, because speed is our speed factor, security vulnerability remediation and patching, right? Visibility, login and monitoring, predictive analytics, and AI, for sure. We cannot miss. We cannot ignore the power of AI in today's security operations center management. Although I'm not a SOC expert, this is inevitable. And consistency. So while we are deploying our infrastructure, we need to make sure that it's consistent, scalable, auditable, clean, and repeatable. So this is what makes us stronger. Like one more time, resilience is engineered through visibility, consistency, and speed. So I think I've come to the end of my presentation and my demo. So if you have any questions, feel free, or maybe we can catch up outside. Thank you for listening.
Okay, any questions to Baris?